Hi there, I'm Chris. This is Talking to Noko Blues. Today, another Superman video. I know, I know. Today I'm talking about Superman the Exile and Other Stories Omnibus. I love the stories in here. This one is a whole lot of fun. Not to say the other ones were not fun, but this one really holds a special place in my heart. So, I did 4 videos on 4 volumes of John Byrne's Superman. So this book picks up right where Volume 4 of the John Byrne run leaves off. But now Jerry Ordway takes the helm, writing and drawing the New Adventures of Superman, and Roger Stern comes in to write the main Superman series. Jerry Ordway, of course, responsible for creating some of the greatest characters in the DC universe, from supervillains such as the Anti-Monitor and Doomsday, to side characters such as Cat Grant, Alexander Luthor, Gangbuster, who actually plays a major role in this one, and even Bibbo Bibowski? Yep. Most of these mainly co-created with Marv Wolfman. And Roger Stern, of course, a great creator himself, co-creator of the Hobgoblin in the Spider-Man comics, as well as Starman, and even Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy.
And you've won. Congratulations. Fair game. Good sport. You have fun?
It was fun.
When John Byrne left the Superman series, he left behind a large hole that had to be filled. After all, 3 titles were being published every month: Action Comics, The Adventures of Superman, and the main Superman series. And 2 of them were being written and drawn by John Byrne himself. So, the publishing schedule was tight. Jerry Ordway had already begun working on the story that would eventually appear in Annual Number 2 from 1988. And Mike Mignola and Roger Stern's Curse of the Banshee was actually planned as a fill-in issue. Jerry Ordway, pressed for time with the deadline looming, submitted his story, which was 30 pages long, and in order to edit it down, it would have to pretty much be redrawn because it was so dense. And so that actually ended up running as the annual, a 30-page-long annual with no ads. So that was kind of an amazing debut right there. The problem of the publishing schedule solved, Ordway was then tasked with both wrapping up the epic climax that John Byrne had set up in Volume 4, and I detailed that one in my last video, but major spoiler alert for that one. If you watch that video, there are major spoilers, and I'm not going to go into that here. And Jerry Ordway had big shoes to fill for that one. So he had to wrap up the climax, he had to continue the stories, he had a lot of moving parts, and he was just getting used to being a writer, because before that he was an inker and an artist. So he had to continue to tell the story of Superman's guilt and his PTSD, how he grapples with the things that he's done, and also Superman's decision to leave Earth, and what's going to happen to him. He's going to go a-wandering through the universe. Superman's wilderness years, as it were. But I find these stories to be very interesting. John Byrne's stories were in some ways kind of golden agey, and in fact in some cases he actually updated some of the Silver Age stories and kind of just redid the same story again. But in this one it really feels like a different kind of Superman. It has a different feel. It's not so cheesy, it's not so wacky. It's a little more mature, it's a little more epic. There's a lot more morality issues, and Superman really grappling with who he is and what he stands for. Also the classic hero out of context, which is also interesting. I'm always a big fan of seeing heroes in a new way, with the same ideals and the same sort of inner strength and inner character, but put in a totally new environment where they have to adapt, and they can have all kinds of new adventures and meet new characters. And one of my very favorite characters actually appears in this volume. He's in seclusion on an asteroid, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as I get into it. But there's a lot of really great characters in here. There's a lot of weird aliens, and it's a whole lot of fun. Also, you get to see Lex Luthor in the typical 1980s businessman mode, trying to take over Star Labs and flexing his muscles, his financial muscles. That also is a nice balance with Superman off in space, having his kind of bizarre psychedelic adventure, and Lex Luthor, then anchoring Metropolis to the real world and what was going on in the 1980s. However, Lex Luthor also meets Mr. Mitch's Picklick, so, it's not all realistic. Sometimes it's just as bonkers as the John Byrne days. Alright, here's the cover. I really like this omnibus. It's really beautiful. I like how, the Superman logo is glossy, and Superman himself is also glossy. And then the rest of the paper is not glossy. It's really quite a beautiful omnibus. The contrast of the yellow and the black starry space really kind of pops out of there. And on the back, also really cool. This is also glossy, kind of matte. Also, I really like this too under the dust jacket, the texture here, the matte and the glossy. And the back's it's just a wraparound image. Silhouette of Superman. All right. So here you can see the table of contents. Jerry Ordway and Roger Stern. Starts in 1988 and goes all the way to 1989. Be It Ever So Deadly. And then there's a sketchbook. I love to see this like work in progress covers. So cool, the original pencils from issue 447, page 1. In the introduction, Jerry Ordway details how, in the beginning, he was unsure of his ability as a writer. He also details how he put together his first issue by himself, the aforementioned Adventures of Superman Annual Number 2, and he talks about how he came up with the inspiration for the story from one of John Byrne's background characters, Pete Shoemaker, an elderly homeless man who Jimmy Olsen befriends on his way to and from work every day. And he talks about reintroducing Brainiac, aka Milton Fine, how he connected him to the larger story arc, and finally how he decided to add in some little details, like the hobo alphabet, a pictogram form of communication used by the wandering men of the early 20th century to mark homes with information about the residents who lived there, whether they were kind, could get a free meal or a place to sleep, or whether they would be attacked, berated, and chased off. This element is not really necessary for the story, but it adds such a memorable and dynamic feel to the world that makes it more believable and interesting. This is kind of interesting too. He talks about starting with the relaunch, each Superman title had its own flavor or focus. So I was continuing that tradition, using the title to explore the gritty street-level aspects of Metropolis and our large cast of supporting players. I made a conscious choice to treat Superman, the costumed character Superman, as if he were the special effects portion of a pre-CGI movie, meaning he was used sparingly and only when necessary. Clark Kent could occupy as much of the story as I wanted. But with Superman headlining another comic's title in addition to my book, he was already somewhat overused. I wanted him to count when he showed up, and I hoped the fans would grow to like the subplots and oddball supporting cast between the cape scenes. Absolutely love this issue, the conclusion of the Silver Banshee origin story. I love that cover too. Mike Mignola. Curse of the Banshee. Yes. And you can see Batman there holding some kind of mysterious book. Books keep bringing them together, as you might remember the scrapbook from before. What's this? Oh, Batman and Superman. Even the moment that Batman gives Superman the book is in here. Superman accuses Batman of trying to play a trick on him. And Batman says that last page wasn't even here before. So this must be that book, the mysterious tome that the Silver Banshee was seeking. And meanwhile, back in the North Channel between Ireland and Scotland, there's this kind of strange island where Castle Browan, the ancestral home of the Clan MacDougal, lies. And Lois Lane and Jimmy hire a boat and sail out there, only to have all kinds of craziness ensue. Superman, trying to take the book, gets struck by lightning, falls into a whirlpool. Silver Banshee's at the center of the whirlpool. I absolutely love this art. I'm such a big fan of Mike Mignola, as I've mentioned in previous videos. It's so cool. I love the way he draws Silver Banshee. I love just the way it's laid out. The hand coming out of the waves. So cool. And this has a really like a Hellboy feel, you know. In Hellboy, they're always like sneaking around in like ruined castles and going down into dungeons. I mean, look at that. It's so awesome. And then they find out about Siobhan and the curse that she brought upon the family. But she didn't mean for it to happen. She wants the book so bad. Superman's sweating again. You remember I was joking in Volume 4 about how Mike Mignola loves to make Superman all sweaty. There he is again, all sweaty. But yeah, God, I love it. I love how his cape's all raggedy. Superman's actually been cut. And here comes Mother McDougal, the old crone. And then, of course, Castle McDougal will be destroyed as if it was never there at all. Who? Superman? What was that all about? Superman? Yeah, I really love the Silver Banshee. I love Mike Mignola, and I love this whole origin. It's so interesting. I actually wish there had been a little more Silver Banshee. I'm sure some people don't really like her that much, but I could have gone with a part 3, honestly. And I have to admit, after reading 4 volumes of John Byrne's Superman stories, and then now this the first 270 some pages of Jerry Ordway and Roger Stern's stories, I was really sad. I was sad to see tearful Clark Kent saying goodbye and loading up his oxygen mask and teleportation device and flying away. He is our world's greatest hero. We may never see him again. So this begins Superman's space saga. As cheesy as that sounds, this is actually probably one of my favorite, maybe top 5 Superman stories. It's wacky at times, but it's also really philosophical. Superman grappling with his identity. He's grappling with the meaning of being Superman and searching for a new home and basically feeling completely lost. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor misses Superman, and Brainiac tells him he can't feel Superman anymore. He can't sense his energy, his mind. He's gone. And poor Lex Luthor will be so lonely and just not know what to do with himself. His journey takes him to various planets and strange worlds, and he meets other beings that treat him like the savior that he is on Earth, but he can't accept that, and he doesn't want to hurt them, so he has to leave. And there's this ongoing subplot where this private detective is hired to keep an eye on Clark Kent because someone suspects that Clark Kent and Superman may be the same person. And so he kind of breaks into Clark Kent's apartment, and the neighbor sees what she thinks is Clark Kent coming home, and he starts sneaking around. And meanwhile, here comes Intergang, and poor guy, he's done. Oh yeah, and he picks up Clark Kent's high school ring too, so they're going to find in the remains, they're going to find his ring, and they're going to think that Clark Kent has been killed. Meanwhile, Superman saga getting stranger and more surreal. And what's going to happen to Matrix too? Matrix answers the phone, and she's talking to Toby Raines. Ma and Pa are like, we have to keep her on a tighter leash. She can't just be talking to the Metropolis Daily Star. And of course, Jose Delgado, completely out of control of his own body, manipulated by Lex Luthor, and becoming this kind of, I don't know, not like a cyborg, but this kind of bodyguard minion. Superman continuously teleporting himself throughout the galaxy, helping those he can along the way. And Lois Lane shedding a tear for good old Clark, who she treated like crap most of the time. But actually, as much as John Byrne's characterization of Lois was kind of crazy, like this Lois is much more grounded. And actually all of the characters, I feel like, are built a lot better in the Jerry Ordway, Roger Stern stories. John Byrne, may have recreated them, but it's the later writers who really make them shine and give them lots of great little moments. Also, the Wordbringer and the Union story comes back, this time with Lois at the center of it. She sneaks onto this quarantine zone of this army base, and meanwhile, Superman finds his way onto the ship of the Wordbringer. And Matrix wondering, what is it like to be Clark Kent? This is actually kind of freaky. So Superman builds himself a little kind of hut, and he starts farming. He changes the course of a river to irrigate his fields, and uses his cape as a little satchel to plant the wheat or some kind of grain. But at night, the loneliness takes hold, and there is no satisfaction, only sorrow. So he's still grappling with the things that happened in previous volumes. His PTSD is flaring up, and he's seeing these visions of the terrible things that he's done and the regrets that he has. And then he awakens to this horrible storm, and it's like biblical kind of end of the world stuff going on here. What the heck is happening? Well, every so often the raging atmosphere just basically erases the prairie down back to the clay, and the land becomes infertile again. And Superman uses his X-ray vision to see that this has been going on since time immemorial. So he gets frustrated and he starts beating up asteroids. No more! Meanwhile, Luther, it's good to be the king. Except for the fact that he, lost his hand to kryptonite poisoning. Luther's doing pretty fine. He's missing Superman and he wants his rival back, but at the same time, he has his own plots and he's moving toward taking over Star Labs, and that's a whole thing. Hostile takeover. Meanwhile, Matrix is forming herself into himself, now becoming Clark Kent, a version of Clark Kent, and this is kind of freaky. I will help you, Jonathan. Matrix? Oh man. Well, she's a proto-matter shapeshifter after all. She, he, they're a proto-matter shapeshifter after all. And I want to kind of skip ahead here. I want to skip ahead to Annual 1989. The 1989 Annual kicks off the saga of Warworld. And in fact, in recent years, it was revisited by Philip Kennedy Johnson. In this series, I have this little paperback here, the Warworld Saga. This is from 2021, I think. And anyway, this is actually my next video, so check that out. Both of these are some of my favorite Superman stories of all time. They are both very, very entertaining, and as I said before, I love it when a hero is out of context and we get to see them in a new light. Talking about the 1989 Annual, basically what happens is Superman is taken prisoner. There's a prison planet that is also orbiting the Warworld planetoid, and Superman is taken prisoner by a villain called Mongol, and he's made to fight as a gladiator. Hey, bring back my cape! Ma said to wear it wherever I go. Yeah, that's a nice touch there. It's like he straps in his cape like a kind of a Roman toga or something, and yeah, Ma said to wear it wherever I go. Aww, respect your ma. And you get to meet some pretty cool, wacky looking aliens. Yeah, this guy, the Cell Keeper, he's gonna go fly across the asteroid field. And this is such a cool little like side story. I really love this kind of thing. The shuttle cruiser skims along the star-laden blackness, as it has done so many times before. For Cell Keepers, such excursions are routine. The inspection and maintenance of the satellite prison asteroids are just part of the job. But for Cell Keeper 385, it has become so much more, especially today. Alright, and then the introduction of one of my favorite characters, the Cleric, this ancient being who remembers Krypton, and he's like, it's impossible, there are no Kryptonians left, they're all dead. This is a trick, a plot to drive me mad. So Superman will actually get to meet this mysterious Cleric, this ancient being who's hiding on an asteroid, and he ends up telling Superman that he visited Krypton way back in the day, during the 5th historical epoch. And Superman's like, how can that even be possible? That would make you like 200,000 years old. Here you can see the Cleric visiting Krypton during the 5th epoch. That's a cool idea too, like missionaries that go planet to planet. I'm not a fan of missionaries knocking on my door, but going planet to planet, I'll take it in a story. And then he talks about science at its most obscene. There's this device introduced called the Eradicator, and this is something that the Cleric has kept for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. And he's going to pass it on to Superman. Also, the Cleric has a pretty dark past. He remembers being on this ship with over 100,000 Kryptonians in its belly, climbing into the heavens, bound for paradise, but damned to hell. Kryptonians have this kind of a genetic abnormality that does not allow them to leave Krypton. He didn't know that. And so as hard as he tried to soothe them or keep them together with his mystical, magical abilities, still every last one of them died. So he himself has a lot of pain and a lot of trauma from that experience. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Matrix trying to be Clark Kent runs into Jimmy Olsen. Wackiness ensues. Everybody seems to think that Clark was just hit on the head a little too hard. This is kind of funny. Perry White's like, I want you guys to stay here till things calm down. And then Lois is like, where's Clark? He left to pick up our lunches hours ago. Cut to Matrix sitting in the park. And Metropolis is certainly a strange land. That girl with the funny hat traded me all this food for my green papers. Ma Kent never fed me this much at home. That nice Perry White gave me a list with all this on it, and the valued papers too. It's all very confusing to Matrix, but since it is truly belly good, I shall please Mr. White and eat it all. still kind of wacky. I mean, you know, the John Byrne wackiness is not so present in this volume, which I appreciate. But then also there's these wacky little moments, and I like this kind of goofy Matrix stuff. Issue 455, really cool looking War World there. I love this, all the smoke and little like fires coming out of it. It looks like a Death Star that's all unstable and like kind of stitched together with junk. My kind of world. Yeah, so basically what ends up happening is the Cell Keeper steals Superman away, brings him to the Cleric. He introduces him, and this is 385. He doesn't even have a name. I love that Cell Keeper guy, though. And I don't want to spoil too much of this, but basically, I mean, inevitably Superman has to come back to Earth, right? So the Eradicator essentially creates a new outfit for him. Yeah. And Superman even uses the Eradicator as like a mirror to shave his face. So like, it can do anything. But the mystery of the Eradicator remains. What is it? Is it a weapon? Is it a tool? What is it used for? So he uses the Eradicator to basically teleport across the universe and come back home. Mommy, look, up in the sky. It's a big blue bird. No, sweetheart, it's only a plane. Wait, it's him. He's come back. All right, I'm not going to spoil the rest of this. Like, it actually ends with a cliffhanger. Jimmy Olsen becomes essentially the Elastic Man, or Plastic Man, take your pick. But the only problem here is that it ends mid-story. This omnibus will not complete the Jimmy Olsen story. And so it builds, and then it just kind of leaves you there. And it's like, oh, well, I guess you got to just find the subsequent paperbacks, because there's actually no omnibus that connects this Exile and the Death of Superman. The next omnibus is the Death of Superman. So, yeah, until those Triangle Years come out, the new Triangle Years omnibus did come out the other day, but the second one is not out yet. So we're still missing some of those in-between issues. So that's kind of frustrating. I mean, I still really love this omnibus, but I guess that would be my only criticism, is like, why didn't they just finish the Jimmy Olsen story? I mean, it's not that thick. It could have been, you could have put those issues in just to finish out that arc. Alright, as I'm sure I said many times throughout this video, I highly recommend Superman, The Exile, and Other Stories Omnibus. Some of my favorite Superman stories are in here. Absolutely love the saga of Warworld and all of that. Superman's wandering through the universe in the wilderness years. And also one more thing, watch for my next video. I'm talking about Philip Kennedy Johnson's Warworld saga. This is also a phenomenal read. Can't recommend this one highly enough. I could not put this down. Very, very fun, newer Superman story. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again.